Welcome back to More. Today we're going to be going over Saturday, January 2nd. This is, I'm about to say December, this is 2021. So Happy New Year's to everybody. We did make a video yesterday. I hope you all had a safe New Year's, didn't get too stupid. It seemed like the Discord overall was pretty silent today, so I'm assuming everybody was hungover. So we got out of the crazy year that was 2020. We actually came in today with we'll just go straight into what we're doing. We got an official play for the first play of the year was a 3-unit, the biggest play of the year that we had so far. It was Wright State first half -4, 3 units, and they absolutely killed Oakland. So the write-up was basically spot on. I was happy with the results, and it was a varsity versus JV type of game. Wright State, I mean, they shot well. Oakland shot bad, but it was much more than that. If you watch the game, you know they will beat the piss out of them again tomorrow. So the line hasn't come out yet, and that is where we'll get started on talking about today. So we'll start today with that concept of Wright State. Here's the box where they beat the piss out of Oakland. No other words to say. It was a first half -4, then won 49-21. So this game, I mean, you can see Love had 12 and 11 rebounds. This doesn't even explain how good he is. In the first half, all they would do is bring the ball into him. Double team would come. He would choose where he needs to go with the ball. And if the facilitation helped everybody, and it was a beat down. So no matter what the line is for tomorrow on Wright State, I mean, I don't think that they can move the line too much just from one single performance, especially because Oakland they shot really good. No, they didn't. Okay. So from 3, they shot 17%. So 26% from the field. I'm hoping that Vegas just assumes, like, from a number standpoint, that this is just bad shooting performance, and they'll come back tomorrow at home, bounce back versus a Wright State team that shot super well, 46%. They shot 30%. I don't know. There's no way that this line's going to be as low as it was. I'm just trying to hope because basically, no matter what it is, I'm going to be on it. This is, again, as I said, this is a varsity team versus JV team. If you watch the game, if you go back, watch the highlights, it was a domination from the opening tip. And so that is where we'll start. I like Wright State there. So there's not a line. So we won't put that on the leans list because I have no clue what Vegas can help that line with. That being said, we're going to go through a couple games that I would not touch tomorrow. So tomorrow is one of the nicest slates of college basketball year. It's a Saturday in conference play. So there's going to be a lot of good games, a lot that I wouldn't touch, and I'll touch bases through my opinion and why I wouldn't touch them, but just my opinion overall. I'm going to try to make this video kind of short. There's a lot of games, so we're going to breeze through some of these if this website will work. Okay, so the first one that I noticed was Louisville -5. I think that 5 is a generous number, and it looks like it's a good 4.5. But Boston College has played really good teams, and they haven't won, and they continue to get red marks. They're a good basketball team that has too many red marks. I think this number's getting raised up a little bit. I think it should be like 4, 3.5. But I would not be on a 5, and I would not back Boston College with that little of a gap. I think Louisville has the talent to beat them by 7, but something I wouldn't touch by any means. Arkansas versus Missouri. This one was really weird. Okay, it's down to 4.5 now, which makes a little more sense. So this line opened at 6. Missouri is I think 12th, 13th in the nation, something like that. And Arkansas is unranked. They're 9-0, but this was just a weird line, and anytime if there's a weird line, be on the side of the weird. I feel like this was asking you to take Missouri +6, and now it's down to 4.5, so it makes sense, but something I would not touch. Missouri's going to win the rebound battle. Can Arkansas play defense? They have the guards, but something I would not touch overall. The next one I wouldn't touch is Kansas versus Texas. This one I would lean towards this 4 right here in Kansas, but again, I wouldn't touch it by any means because I think Texas is a really good basketball team. But they're having COVID issues. They haven't announced who is having issues, but Shaka Smart said something like, we know for a fact there's 2 people that shouldn't be near the basketball court. Other than that, I can't say anything. So there's not much known, but Texas is a team that is a very good basketball team, and I think that without COVID, I would definitely take the 4.5 or 4 here. I think that Texas wins this game straight up without COVID issues, but it's an unknown that I just don't want any part of. That being said, let's get to the games that we actually have leans on. So Creighton -3.5. I think Creighton is a really good basketball team, 3.5 here. And I think that this number is being priced for what their team is doing so far this year. It's not taking into account Zagorowski is such a good basketball player, and he's just playing piss poor. Also, O'Connell really hasn't fit into that offense yet. So if you look into their Xavier game, Zagorowski 2 for 11, from the field 1 for 5 for 3, still has 10 points, 6 rebounds. He's still doing his thing, but he's not shooting very well at all. O'Connell 10 minutes has 4 points. He's a really good basketball player and is worth much more than 4 points to their team. So they still get the win. So I think that they're being priced as a good team with 2 guys that are just subpar. They're not playing great. Mahoney's a fantastic basketball player. Looks like a goofball, but I think that there's value in the fact that Zagorowski hasn't done much this year, and he's a really good basketball player. So I would take the 3.5 there. I think that, what is it, Providence? Where's this game? Providence is off of a couple big games. They played Butler, and then went to overtime versus DePaul, and then played Butler again. So they've had their hands full, while Creighton is a team that's undervalued overall. So I think that it's a good spot to back Creighton here. I'm not low by any means on Providence, so we will not officially be on this play for sure. But I think 3.5 is the side I would take, if anything. Next, we have Duquesne versus George Washington. Seeing Duquesne -8, 115 here. That's what we're going to go with. We're going to go Duquesne -8. I think this is another situation of JV versus varsity, just like the Wright State game. I think that this one's going to get ugly potentially. The only worry here is that Duquesne hasn't played a basketball game in literally a month. I believe I have it pulled up. So I have George Washington's schedule pulled up. And if you see, like, George Washington's played 331, 334, 296. So, and they lost in overtime to William & Mary. George Washington has games that they're not playing anybody. This is going to be their best game of the season. And the only real red mark you can have on Duquesne, they lost to Little Rock. Little Rock's a really good team. And then they beat Greensboro. So they don't really have a red mark other than this was December 2nd is the last time they played. But they're a vet-driven team starting conference play. They need a win. They understand this. And I don't see there being too much of a rust factor. George Washington's like one of the worst teams in the country on the defensive end. Let's see, 265th on defensive efficiency. So points should come here, and I think that that's going to help. This will be a really good comeback game for Duquesne, and I expect them to roll through this game. Next, we have Baylor versus Iowa State. And again, I'm going to go with Baylor first half team total here. It is not out yet, but the total is 69.5, and the spread is 8.5. So you can assume that the team total is going to be 40, I believe is right. We're going to go with 40 for the screen. I like it. Basically any number that they can put it at this point. Baylor is a ridiculous first half team. So first half points per game, they're averaging 48, and they've scored 50. They've scored 50 or more in 5 of their 8 games, I believe, this year. And then in the last 3, they've averaged 55.7. So they're just a ridiculous offense. So Baylor averaging 48 points per game. They scored 50 or more in 5 of their 8 games this year in the first half. And they're I believe they're 6th in effective possession ratio. And they have like the 20th tempo in offense. So a team that can push the tempo while still getting really good possessions. They don't turn the ball over ever. They're a team that just tacks on points time and time again. No matter if a team is playing good or bad, it doesn't matter. They're going to tack on points. And Iowa State's defense is not good. I believe they've given up 40 plus versus like every. I don't remember the stat. They've given up 40 plus versus some piss poor offenses, and they go up 53, I believe, versus Iowa. So that's what I'm expecting here. I expect 48 to 52-ish, and so I'll take the team total over 40 is what it should be. I cannot believe Ohio State right now. Dane is an Ohio State student, if I didn't know. So I'm sure he, as I'm making this, is at a bar going crazy or something, but they're going to get whooped by Alabama. So roll tide of that. So Dane's in Ohio, I'm in Alabama, so works out. Next, we have Illinois -8, 8.5. Yeah, 8.5. We talked about this over and over. This is a fade of Purdue. I think the lines are slowly starting to get more right for both Purdue and Notre Dame, 2 teams that we faded all year. I'll talk about the Notre Dame game in a second, but that's actually an interesting note. But here, Illinois is going to win the rebound battle. Let's see, I have it. Illinois is first in the nation in rebounds. Purdue is like, I think, 78th or 80th. And true shooting, Purdue is shooting 113 right now. And last year they shot 100.9. So they're just way out of their means. I think that Purdue is not as good as an offense as they're showing. When Illinois is also like, I believe, 8th in points per game, but 10th in offensive efficiency. So they're just an offense that are going to put up a lot of points, and I just don't think that Purdue can keep up here. So I'm going to take the 8.5 there. Next, we have Kentucky money line versus Mississippi State. Yeah, so you can get a money line here. I just think that this is the chance that Kentucky has to win. They've lost, 6 games in a row. But the thing is, they lost to the Notre Dame loss. Looks awful. That's a bad loss. The Kansas loss was a good game. The North Carolina game, they had a chance to win it. North Carolina was able to get their bigs in foul trouble and make this game look a lot worse than it was. And Louisville was a really good basketball team that lost by 3. I think Mississippi State and Vandy, these are 2 games that they need to win going into conference play to turn around and be that Kentucky team that we're used to seeing. And I think that it's a very possible spot. This would be much nicer if it was at home. I personally don't think I can back Kentucky yet. That's why this is going to probably be just a lean. I want to see something from Kentucky's guards first. This shows me that they can control and take pace of the game. Also, they scored 59 points last game. That kind of scares me in the sense that they don't have somebody that can just take over and drop 20 on a game-to-game basis. They kind of depend on their bigs. As you can see, they are 17th in the nation in 2-pointers, not hitting any threes. So I think that you just need to see more from Kentucky, but there's no way that I think that Mississippi State should be a PK here. I think this should be a 2.5, 3 minimum. So Kentucky's the side I would have to be on. Next, we have another similar spot. Michigan State -8 versus Nebraska. Michigan State has now lost 3 in a row, I believe. Yeah, so 3 in a row. Playing Nebraska. This is the worst team they're going to face in a minute. They are about to see. So 120th in Nebraska. They're going to see Rutgers, Purdue, Iowa, Indiana, Illinois. So Michigan State is about to be in for a hell of a beating if they can't beat Nebraska here. I think this is their turnaround game. They have to have this. They're 0-3 in conference play on some bad losses. They played really bad versus Minnesota. They shot piss poor, got slaughtered. I think this is a really good bounce back spot for Michigan State. Tom Izzo, they're going to have probably the best 3 players on the court, and Nebraska's not good. So I think this is a really good bounce back spot for Michigan State. I am high on Michigan State. I've talked about this in many videos. And so I think this is a really good spot here. Michigan State over Nebraska. 8.5 points is a good bit, but I think that it is plenty logical. They're going to need to run up the score and get any kind of momentum going into conference play that they can, because right now they look awful. And the final place I want to talk about today is North Carolina versus Notre Dame. I thought this one was interesting because Notre Dame is a team that we've been low on and we've talked about all year. And I think that they're starting to catch up. This is too big of a line. I can't bet on Notre Dame, but Vegas is agreeing now that Notre Dame sucks. And also, I think that they're agreeing that North Carolina is a much better team than they've shown. And I was really hoping this wouldn't be the case. And I think this is a good point to talk about a discussion that we brought up on Discord the other day. Someone asked me, why do I bet on teams that haven't proven themselves against the spread? And that's not the thing at all. So you don't bet on teams that consistently cover the spread because they're stuck. Imagine you're buying a team that literally has performed to its highest capability over and over again. So is there potential to do that? Yes, you can buy a Baylor or sometimes a Gonzaga, but Gonzaga is a hard one to do. A Baylor or Villanova, teams that are really good, but you think are better, even better than the numbers suggest. So I think that Baylor's offense is one of the most efficient offenses that we've seen in a very long time. So consistently, I bet on the first half team total or the spreads because I don't want the garbage time in the full game. Nonetheless, I digress to that. But to understand that you're not seeing the best that they can potentially be, so you're not trying to buy a team that's at the peak. You're wanting to bet on a team that is below their means, and that doesn't mean that they're a bad team by any means. We bet on Baylor way too often. So Baylor's a team that is really good. They're second in the nation right now, but I'm saying that their numbers still don't explain how good they are. And that's what you want to bet on. So what this brings up by any means is somebody asked me why I bet on North Carolina so much, or I brought up the fact that North Carolina is a team similar to Boise State in football this year, a team that is really good. Their numbers show that they're really good. Yet time and time again, they do little things throughout the game that allow people to have this perception that they're not as good as they are. And what do I mean? So North Carolina versus Georgia Tech. North Carolina won the rebounding battle by, I believe, 13. They won the game for 38 minutes. They dominated that game, and if you watched it, you know they shut down the best player. They put the guards in hard situations. It was a dominant performance that they should have covered the spread. And yet, in the final minutes, they did. They have a good coach. They have quality players. There's no problem. They just didn't get the job done. And so you assume that that's going to drop their price and their value. And it shouldn't, because they're still a good basketball team. That being said, that was the hope. And we went through this in Discord. We had a long chat. Let's see, you can see we had this whole idea of me explaining like why I choose teams. So a big objective and an idea in sports betting is to find a team that's undervalued and ride them through. So how we've done the Notre Dame and Purdue fades is starting to die out because their value is starting to get where they should be. But for a while, we would just bet against those teams because they were overvalued. The price didn't represent the team that they actually were. They represented too good of a team. So it was an explanation of how you find those teams. So for instance, in baseball 2 years ago, I know we bet on the Twins literally every single game that they played because they were undervalued. And that is what sports betting is. It's finding those teams that are undervalued. And this is what the Discord is so good for, to teach people and understand those ideas. And all of this coming into fruition into a single line. All of that being said, it was unfortunate. Vegas did not fall for the trick or public perception that North Carolina wasn't good. They made this game a 9-point game versus Notre Dame. I think that's a little bit of them saying, hey, North Carolina's good and Notre Dame sucks. So they saw straight through it, and I was really hoping they wouldn't. I thought this line would be more towards 6. I actually had a full write-up for North Carolina in this game at 6, 5.5, and it didn't get there. 10 is too much. We're seeing a juice 9 now, but still way too many points. Could not bet on Notre Dame. But end of the day, I think that's just a learning lesson to explain like how it's not just picking the team that's going to win. It's picking a team whose price over the long term is underweight to their actual performance. So if you think that Gonzaga is the best team in the nation, more than it even shows right now, then you bet on a Gonzaga spread. So just little notes and little ideas like that. That's what the Discord is so good for. We can have these conversations on a daily basis, and you can learn from people. I'm learning every single day, and I hope to teach people every single day. So it's just great to see the Discord used for that, other than just stupid stuff. That's just my 2 cents, and we are working to make that what the Discord is. That being said, we're done with leans, and I'm going to stop taking your time because I want to watch the rest of this Ohio State game. So our leans for January 2nd, 2021, new year, let's get it, is Creighton -3.5, Duquesne -8, Baylor first half team total over 40, 41, we'll say 40. Illinois -8.5, Kentucky moneyline, Michigan State -8.5, and Wright State, whatever it is. We're not going to put that on there. But if you watch this video, I think that Wright State is going to win by double digits pretty easy. So that's all we have for today. Let me know what your favorite game is for tomorrow in the comments below. Any kind of interactions really helps our channel. So to leave comments, it just helps. Comments, likes, all that kind of stuff helps bring this to other audiences that I can't get to myself. I really appreciate it. If you've made it this far, hit the like button. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Turn on the bell so you can see when we post these. We post these every single day. Also, note, Dane texted me yesterday and told me we are 60% on the leans this year, which is ridiculous because I'm a high advocate of not tailing these blindly. Do your own research, do your own due diligence. Talk about this every single day because these are such a quick analysis for me. But that being said, 60% off of a light skim of the board, I am very happy with. It's a small sample size, but it lets me know that I am bringing you guys quality information, and that makes me happy. So if you have found any interest in this, you enjoy me making this content on a daily basis, please show some support. We're going to try to knock out these videos way more often. We're going to have educational videos coming. 2021 is going to be all about YouTube. We are going to try to make this the best content we possibly can. Dane, I know, is grinding, wanting these to be perfect. Yeah, that's all I've got. A lot of things coming. 2021 is going to be crazy. I cannot wait. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for your support, and let's make some money.